Hi, it's a good pleasure to be here today at Web2day, and thank you for being here with me today. A quick introduction about myself. I'm Chi Tan, and I'm a user experience director at CX Partners, a UX agency in England, in Bristol and London. And I'm also the Smartsheet magazine editors for Smartsheet on their UX design section. So if you would like to write for us, feel free to come to talk to me later on. User experience or UX design, my simplest definition is to create and to design great experience for your users when you are designing for on your website or applications or offline or online services or products. And when I was being invited to talk about perfect UX design toolkit, I thought, wow, there are so many toolkits out there, and it's impossible for me to fit everything in 30 minutes for you today. And it is a bit like asking you guys to talk about French wines or cheeses in 30 minutes. It's impossible. So what I was thinking is that, OK, if I have to narrow it down to one perfect toolkit, what would it be? And it is very obvious and very quickly did become very clear that it's the users, because it's user experience design. So the toolkit, the most important toolkit will be the users. So I thought, yeah, so I will share with you these important toolkits, and you can just focus on the users when you're designing and make sure whatever you're designing is going to match to your users' mental model and their needs. So here you go. This is my takeaway for you for today. The best toolkits and most important toolkit for UX design is your users. So that's all for my talk today, and I will leave the 25 minutes for you to ask questions. Thank you. I was just joking. Of course, I have more things to share with you today. Sorry, a bit mean on that. When I was saying that earlier, that there are so many toolkits available out there for UX design and UX when you're creating website or applications for your users, I meant that because there are so many tools out there. You can search on Google or find from the internet all these tools that you can use. So what I think will be useful for you today is for me to show you a framework for UX design, so you can use it as a reference. And I will mention a few approaches on how you can go about doing that, and also introduce one or two softwares or applications that you can use, or which we use back in our office in England. So by no means this list is exhaustive, but at the end of the talk, I will upload my slides where I will have a lot of links or references for you so that you can go, continue looking for more information. When I say that the only toolkit, the most important toolkit for UX design is users, I do mean that. Sorry about that, because switching computer, the formatting change. To create good user experience, you have to understand your users. You have to understand their needs, their behaviors, their expectations, and how would they go about using your products. So you can't say you are doing user experience design if you don't involve your users at all. It's just like you're saying that I have cheese fondue without having cheese. And so the first thing in the framework that in this user experience design toolkit, it will be the user research. So there are a lot of ways you can talk to your users or get input from your users. And one of them is, of course, to have a face-to-face interview with your users. And you can bring them to your lab, or and then show them your applications, your websites, or talk to them to get understanding about what their needs, how would they normally complete a task or use your products. And this is a very good approach because you get the best insights, being there with them, talk to them, see their reactions, expressions, and everything. But of course, it will take a bit longer because recruitment for good participants can be quite challenging, and you have to get the right users who represent your user groups or the potential users of your products. But you can easily do that by collaborating with good user recruitment. And when you're doing face-to-face interview, you could use various screen sharings or screen recording applications so that you can record it. You can come back to it after the research or the interviews in case you think, oh, that person talked about something really important. I want to go back and get reference again. So what we use back in our office is Moray for screen recording, but that is for PC. We also use Silverback for Mac. And sometimes in the viewing rooms, we will start taking notes so that it's easier for us to share our notes and findings very quickly. So the quickest way is old school pen and paper. But for applications, for example, Evernote and Notational Velocity, they are very good because they have cloud saving, so you can easily access it between your project teams. You can also use these applications called Text Expander. It allows you to easily create timestamp and create shortcuts so you can take notes very quickly. Again, like I said earlier, these are just a few tools or applications that we use normally in our office as CX partners. But there are so many more tools that you can use, which might suit to your requirement a bit more better. So sometimes it's also good to talk to your users in their environment, but not bringing them into your lab. And we do this with, especially for people who are elderly people, for example, that it's very hard for them to come to our office, and we just go to visit them and see their environment. And ethnography is a good approach because you get to see their environment, the devices they use, and how they always being disturbed by their noisy kids, and they have to stop what they're doing and then go out to fix the kids and then come back again. So you get to see the real context of how people use your software or application or your websites. But there are a lot of logistics you have to think about. For example, you might be chased by the dogs because you go to people's house, or you might see things that you're not supposed to see in their house. So just be prepared for that. If you are users in other countries or actually in other locations, which is not very easily for them to come to your lab or for you to visit, sometimes you can do moderated remote testing. So what we always do is that we use screen sharing applications, for example, GoToMeeting or Skype, the easiest to set up, and then screen sharing with them, and you can let them control your mouse so that you can see how they go about doing that. There are a lot of others like WebEx and Slingshot is useful as well. So to take notes as well, we use something called Pair Notes. It is very useful because it allows audio recording, but it's also linked to your note. So whenever you go back to say, oh, okay, actually, I heard something good, but I want to go to that specific moment in the video or the audio, you can easily link and reference it. Of course, pen and paper is always a good solution as well. Sometimes you want to get a quick feedback, and on your prototype, a very quick prototype, you want to see how people use your prototype or how they use your applications. You can also use a moderated remote testing. It's cheaper and quicker. So there are a lot of tools out there that they have recruitment ready, they have database, so you just tell them, I want this number of users, and this is the task that I want them to do. So they will do that, and they record the video. So you can go back and watch the video on how people use your website or applications, and they will think aloud, so you will be able to hear what they say, or, oh, this is really confusing, and at what point they have problem using your prototype, your applications. So in our office, we use usertesting.com if we want to talk to users in the US, because it's more US-based participants. And if we want to do talk to participants in the UK or in Europe, we use what user do, because they actually do the translation for us as well. I want to do talk to participants in Asia, for example, Malaysia, Singapore, I would use netizen testing. So there are a lot of options available, but that's how we use it, because we find out that they have better user groups in certain cities. So that's how we do that. This option is cheaper, and you can get quicker feedback, but the feedback you get probably is not as insightful or as deep as the one you will get in your face-to-face interview. Guerrilla testing is a good way to get quick feedback from your users as well. It's cheap and quick. So you go to cafe or airport, train station, or wherever where you think you're more likely to get your users, your user groups. You can get there and then approach them and tell them, oh, do you have 5 or 10 minutes to talk to us, and then show them. We normally will offer a coffee or tea for them, or give them €5 or £5 voucher. But normally people will say, oh, I don't need that, or give it to the charity, which is really great. But bear in mind, this is just a quick guerrilla testing, quick testing, so you have to keep it in 5 to 10 minutes. The other approach is online survey, so it's another cheaper alternative. This can be done qualitatively or quantitatively. If it is quantitative, then you might want to get more people to do your survey, so you get better findings. Crafting the right questions is very important, and it's quite challenging. You need a bit of skills in getting the questions right, so that you can, whatever findings you get is going to help you in making decisions or making conclusions. But once you have the questions ready, it is very easy to set up on the online survey tool. For example, Typeform or SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey, we use it quite a lot, but then now Typeform, we realize actually prettier. It's more fun to do that, to create your forms. At CX Partners, we are advocates of call center listening. We like to go to, so for example, we are doing a research for Hoover company. They are selling Hoover or vacuum cleaner. We go to their call center and sit there and listen into the calls that they pick up in the call center, customer service. The reason for that is we will be able to hear the problems or the questions the users have, so we can try to solve that on the website, so that all the information is on the website. You're answering users' questions, and as well in the call center during the call center listening, you will be able to hear the terms the users use. So that can help you to avoid using jargons, like the terms that people won't be using. But you will use it in business, so that doesn't make sense to users. So use what the users, the terms or the words they use on the website. And the other thing is, it's good to listen to how the customer service people answer the users' questions. So that is the way you should talk to the users, because it's easier for them to understand. So you can get a lot of insights by sitting together with the customer service people, and sometimes you can get some very weird, interesting, fun stories as well. And store visits is useful as well. We normally will visit the stores of our clients, and a few reasons for that, because salespersons, they are with the customers all the time. They know how to upsell your products. They know how to answer their questions. So they know how to talk to the customers as well. So a lot to learn from by store visiting. And this is when we're designing a website for Charles Strait. It is a menswear retail in the UK. So what we did is we went to visit their stores, and we saw this in the changing room. we love that because that is exactly how people shop and their mental model. You will say yes, no, and maybe I will think about it. So we love that so much that actually we bring that into their shopping basket online. So we have similar things that help people to switch or categorize their products. So they help them to make them easier to make a decisions and when they're buying online, because the experience they have in the shops should also be replicated digitally. There's no reason why they can't do that. So there are always pros and cons on each approach, and it is really depends. I don't believe there's one specific tools or approach is going to suit you or perfect for everyone here. So there are a few things to think about when you're trying to decide which one should I go for. For example, budget. Do you have a lot of money, or you actually quite tight budget, so maybe guerrilla testing is useful, or you have limited time, you need to get the feedback very quickly, but you want to get some users' feedback. So maybe, again, doing some survey or guerrilla testing would be useful. And also depends on what you are testing. If it is more about getting insights or market diagnostic or market research, then possibly face-to-face is better because you get to have a conversation with them, ask questions based on their situations rather than a set questions that you have online on survey, which doesn't match to everyone's situations. And also who your users are. Is that elderly people or kids or teenagers? So it all depends on all these scenarios or situations you are in, so you can choose the right approach. And every approach, no matter which approach you use, you would definitely get some good insights. So we are always recommend to do user research, and it's very important to do that. So the second tool that to add to the framework is design. This could be interaction design or visual design. Design is not just about making beautiful or very interesting app or website. A good UX process has to include sketching and then getting users' feedback very quickly, and then go back and make changes, and then come back again to the users, or make a very quick lo-fi wireframing or mockups so that you can get feedback very quickly and scrub that. Don't have to spend a lot of time creating that. So pen and paper for sketching is always the best. If you're not very comfortable with your sketching, there's always utensils and sheet that you can buy that already have the framework and template for you. For example, these UI stencils or sneak peek kits. There are a lot more out there if you want to search for that. If you want, you can use computer-generated wireframing. So they have very basic elements or fields that you can use. You can drag and drop. And the most popular one at the moment is balsamic mockups. So they allowed you to have very quick mockups without people focusing too much on the pixels or colors and things like that. So the whole objective is to get your concept, your idea out to the user as quick as possible and as cheap as possible. So to finalize ideas or work out the details, you can always use all sorts of digital drawing tools. The one we're using quite a lot back in the office is OmniGraffle. It is quick and it has nice, very nice elements and nice looking result. And there are a lot of stencils available as well for OmniGraffle. So people created that so you can drag and drop with a lot of icons and things like that. So there are a lot of these free icons available where you can use free. Another one is Sketch. Sketch is cheaper and it is possibly easier to use and also to pass it to designers because they can straight away use that to create their visual design templates. So delightful and meaningful animations and transitions in interaction design will also affect user experience. So you want to make sure the interactions or the animations you created is going to improve the user experience rather than just making it more confusing or not helping the whole experience. So you always want to get it out there and then test it, see whether the users understand what it means, and then before you start development. So there are a lot of prototyping tools that already have animations. For example, Axio, it is a prototype tools where it actually allowed you to have rich interactions, and you can use that for user testing. We did that a lot as well. If you want a cheaper version, Hype is another one where you can, it's kind of, you can push the boundaries to make it a bit more like what you want it to do, but it's not as advanced or sophisticated as Axio. So again, there are many prototyping tools out there, and they have pros and cons again. And again, there's none of them is perfect for every one of you here. So Cooper, they created this summary, very good summary on all these different tools, and also the factors or that you might consider, and you can see which situations you are in and which actually match your scenarios. Another one to add is strategy. So it could be a IA strategy. For example, trying to find out structuring and organizing informations on your website. So you can do card sorting, it's free and cheap. You can do it offline, so get the users to show you how they think the content should be organized on your website. Or you can do it offline. You can do it offline by note card, or you can do it online by using optimal sort or XSort. They are very easy to use. And the other bit is content strategy. So you can use software or tools, for example, CAD, content analysis tool. They will crawl your website and find out what content you have on your website. And the content include your image, text, videos, and all sorts of information. And they will tell you also how much people look at all this content. So by that, you can move it forward to a spreadsheet, and then you can do the audit saying, okay, do I need this information? Is it going to fit to business requirements or business needs, and will users need this? So you can organize it and see whether you need to remove some information or add more information. Another very useful strategy document is customer experience map. This is a one we did with one of our clients. It shows a summary of users' flow from the needs they have from the very beginning. For example, if they want to buy a car, they will go through by choosing the cars they want and then specifying their specifications, technical specification, and also then they'll start trying to find out their finance, their money and costs, and then start buying the process. Every single stage will have needs and from the users, so it is allow us to have a big summaries of the flow on how people go about buying or using your products. The great thing about this map is that you can keep adding different content or layers. You can say, oh, some of the needs are more important to a certain group of users, and some of them is less important. And depends who you want to focus on. You can look at what you need to provide them, and you can add emotions as well. So that is the first part, top parts of the experience map, and you can use the second half of the experience map to identify your strategy as well. So, for example, you can compare it within multi-channels, how you go about supporting all these needs, or you can compare it with your competitors, and you can tell how what you need to do, phase 1, and then phase 2, you can do it later on. So it helps you in identify or defining your UX strategy. This map should be a living document where you can continue developing it. So this is what I think, from my point of view, a framework of UX design. So within that, you have a lot of tools and approaches that you can use. And what would I like to emphasize is that a good UX design couldn't be achieved without a good communications within the project teams. For example, user research, visual design, business analysts, developers, front-end and back-end developers, even stakeholders. So all these people, you have to get them involved as early as possible because all this knowledge have to be, we can't separate everything. We can't just bring in the front-end developers at the very end of the process because at that point, they might say, okay, this is not possible to be built, or this will cost you tens of thousands of euros to build that, so it's not possible. So getting everyone involved as early as possible is a key. Is a key element. And to keep track of everyone's everything within the team, it's always useful to have a board or sharing board. We use Trello sometimes to identify which of the elements or which are the things that have to be done and which of them are being done and which already being completed. I love running workshops with our clients, especially stakeholders, because they have all the knowledge in their head, and it's always good to get them out and then get the information out from them. And so this is a workshop that I just did 2 weeks ago with our clients in the States. So what is very useful for them is that because they have different teams in their organizations, they don't talk to each other. So they didn't realize actually when they create something, the other team is doing it as well. So with this exercise, they kind of say, okay, now you are doing this, I'm doing that, so we should talk more often, and that actually encourage communication within a good organizations as well. At CX Partners, we have this workshop team. Is actually a lunchbox, but we're trying to make it creative. So I will always make sure if I run a workshop, we will have the post-it notes, some Sharpies, blue text in case you want to put some paper on the wall for everyone to see. And the dot stickies is very useful as well because sometimes you want to color code the things that you put on the wall, or you want to prioritize your information, and it's very useful. So if you want to create good user experience, you have to always involve your users. So I often hear the designer saying, oh, we should do that and design this and that, but that because a lot of websites are already doing that. But what industry is doing, Amazon is using or eBay is doing, is not always the right practice. So you always have to talk to your users. I have heard my clients saying, oh, we want to rebrand, so we want to be bold and be brave on our creative design, so we don't talk to users, and that actually hurts their conversion rates and sales. You need a good balance between creativeness and user experience. I have already created some slides, which I say I will be sharing it with you. Oh, this didn't come out well. So if one thing I want you to take away from this talk is to always involve your users in your UX design, because if you are not talking to users, if you are not taking into consideration their needs and behaviors, what you created might be a piece of beautiful art, but it's going to be usable, not usable, and won't convert any sales or conversion rates for you. So that's all for today, and good luck with your UX design adventure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.